Okay, part 3. Here we go again. As I said, the stomach has 3 layers of muscles. It's a J-shaped sac that has great expandability. So it's got what are called these rugae here, which allow it to expand when full. So when you look at the stomach can hold up to 4 liters. So that's like a big milk jug when full because it expands. It's a temporary holding area. It secretes all sorts of gastric juices and acids and enzymes, and it mixes them together, churning and performing this chemical digestion. It has 4 functions. That is to regulates the rate of new and partially digested food. It absorbs a very small amount, and it does not absorb all alcohol. So when they talk about absorption in your stomach, it's not in your stomach, it's in your intestine. Okay? The stomach has a bunch of regions. Don't worry about it. Okay? And yeah, each region is distinctly different. But basically, you've got 3 layers of muscle, longitudinal, circular, and now you've got one that goes oblique, and this allows for your muscle to churn, and it works, and hopefully your pyloric sphincters are tight, so this way all this activity will slowly release the food through the pyloric sphincter once it's done enough. It takes about 4 hours for it to work, and they say everything passes differently, but I don't know. There's gastric juices, and the gastric juice consists of hydrochloric acid, mucus, which is very useful because mucus helps protect the lining, and also pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is an inactive form of a enzyme which produces, or pepsin, which will break down protein, and it's very important that it's released inactively so that way it doesn't digest the cells that made it. The pH of the stomach is at 1.5, very effective at killing pathogens, very acidic. The mucus is very important because the mucus protects the stomach from the effects of these stomach acids. The stomach is controlled by the parasympathetic nervous system. You know how we talk about the parasympathetic being rest and digest. So the parasympathetic nervous system turns on the digestive system. Gastric juice is produced in, basically it's gastrin is one of the compounds that's produced. Gastrin is a hormone that will tell the stomach to produce more enzymes. And then these enzymes, we're looking at pepsinogen, mucus, and hydrochloric acid are the main ones we're looking at now. There's all sorts of other ones, but those are the main ones. Okay? When the fluid comes out of the stomach, it's called chyme, C-H-Y-M-E, and it is, you want it to move slow to allow for good absorption. Now, you have the small intestine. The small intestine has 3 parts, the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. And basically, they are structurally different, but you don't need to know too much about it. What I want you to realize is, where's our picture? The small intestine is very fuzzy with these finger-like projections called villi. And in these villi is a great surface area that allows for amazing absorption. And in between you have a little bit of enzyme being produced down here. And you also have goblet cells, and goblet cells produce mucus. So all of this allows for amazing surface area. Okay. When you look at the stomach, the function of the stomach, it is the longest section, which goes to about 7 meters long. And it's called a small intestine because the diameter is small. Okay? The wall of the intestine secrete digestive enzymes, which are important. All sorts of enzymes, one called secretin, which stimulates the pancreas. About 80% of the nutrients are absorbed at this point. The duodenum, which is the first 25 centimeters, which is actually 12 inches. So duo means 2, denim means 10, so 10 and 2 is 12 inches. Then you've got valves, and you have more muscular action to move things along. At the first part of the duodenum, this is where the pancreas and the gallbladder add their secretions. So bile is made by the liver and it's stored in the gallbladder, and bile will help emulsify fats, which breaks down big droplets of fat to small droplets of fat. And then these droplets, they will then be salty enough to immerse in water to help them travel around the body. The pancreas produces different juices, including bicarbonate, which neutralizes the enzyme, the acidity of the stomach. And because of its changing the pH, it will then also turn on different enzymes. All sorts of hormones, just so you're aware of them. Cholecystokinin, CCK, is the hormone that stimulates this activity. Secretin will also stimulate the liver and pancreas to release their digestive enzymes. Finger-like projections, that's what I want you to be aware of. Increased surface area, and also inside is a very good blood supply, and also these finger-like projections called of the lymphatic system called lacteals. So they will absorb fat. Fat goes through this area. So let's look at it. The green part here is the finger-like projection, or the lacteals. So the fat will go into the lacteals and everything else goes into the capillary network. Then you get the large intestine. The large intestine's main function is to absorb water and vitamins. It also helps pack the waste for elimination because you're removing the water and you're also squeezing out the water. So there is no villi, so very little absorption occurs at this point. Now, when you look at the large intestine, you've got the cecum down here, then you've got the colon, then you've got the rectum where it is stored, and then you have the anus, which is at the sphincter at the bottom. So the colon goes up, which is ascending, across, which is transverse, and then down, which is the descending. You have this S-shaped bit here called the sphygmoidal colon, and then you have the rectum, the straight part. Notice that there's a very good blood supply again in the large intestine, which helps absorb the water. Also, because of this good blood supply, if anything stays in the large intestine and gives off toxins, these toxins can be taken in. When you're talking about colostomy, this is where, for some reason, there's a problem with the intestine. So you just make a new opening, stick a bag on it, and take the poop out that way. Defecation is a fancy word for pooping. And realize that the pooping, we don't have it, is controlled by two different things. You have it. No, it's not there. You have your internal sphincter and your external sphincter, and they both get controlled by the nervous system. There we go. The external sphincter and the internal sphincter relaxes, and this is incontrollable. The external sphincter is when you decide. So you have some control with limits about when you defecate. This is why small children take a while to learn defecation, and also seniors will lose it because of the control of the external. There is a large discussion about gut bacteria and the human biome and healthy gut. Not so much covered in this textbook, but something to look at later. Bacteria play a very important role because they will help break down ingestible materials by continuing digestion, and also they produce vitamin B, which and also vitamin K, which is used for clotting in blood. Couple of applications. Okay, let's look at the accessory organs. The accessory organs are the mouth, which we talked about, the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. So the liver is very large with lots of lobes, and it absorbs a large amount of blood, very good blood supply. So here's the liver, very large, and the liver has many, many functions. For digestively, we're just going to look at the fact that the liver produces bile, and bile is this salty substance that helps emulsify fat, and bile will come out here and go into the cystic duct and be stored in the gallbladder. Then once the gallbladder is released, it'll come back out and it goes into the common bile duct down here, where it will meet with the stuff from the pancreas and go into the duodenum to help in digestion. So as I say, the liver does a great many things. It detoxifies, it controls heat, it destroys old blood cells, it forms plasma proteins, it has clotting factors, it helps with an anticoagulant, and it stores fat. It also synthesizes urea to help eliminate it from the body. But the most important here for digestion is that it produces and manufactures bile. Bile is secreted, the secretion of a hormone secretin and cholecystokinin will cause the release of it. And bile salts act like a detergent, breaking the fat into smaller parts called emulsification. The gallbladder is basically just a storage item for the bile. It has some water in it. Unfortunately, if you have over concentration of the bile, you will get gallstones, which I hear are very painful. Now, the problem with gallstones is that will cause the bile to back up to the liver, and backing up in the liver, that saltiness will destroy the liver. We talked about pancreas being an endocrine with the role in glucagon and insulin. Now let's look at it in terms of an exocrine function, which is the digestive property of it. So you have buffers. So the bicarbonate will neutralize the chyme, changing it to pH 7.8 to 8.8. This is basic. This is will activate any coatings on drugs if you have special releasing on special release on drugs. It also will change and activate some enzymes, and one of the enzymes that activates is trypsin. So when we look at pancreas, the pancreas, there is a lot of enzymes. There's a pancreatic amylase, which continues to break down carbohydrates. There's a lipase, which will work on the lipids, breaking those down. There's a protease, which breaks down protein. Nuclease breaks down nucleic acids. Note that most enzymes end in ASE, or the A's ending. Okay, so here's a little more detail than you need to know on the pancreas, but remember how we talked about the islets of Langerhans with the alpha and beta cells with insulin and glucagon. Well, here are the duct cells, which will produce the enzymes. Problem with pancreatitis is if that inflames, you don't get your digestive enzymes, and you can also have other problems. Okay. There's all sorts of things can go wrong with the digestive system. Basically, vomiting is get this out of here. Diarrhea is get it out the other end. Constipation is staying there too long. Vomiting is a protective mechanism to get rid of your irritants, and it is a reverse peristalsis. Okay? Diarrhea is a peristalsis at the other end, getting rid of things fast. The problem with diarrhea is you will also lose your water, because water is largely absorbed in the small intestine. Okay, we made it through this part. There's a lot of other diseases in the textbook. Have a quick skim if you want, but I'm sure by this time of the course, you're just wanting to get it done.